right, y'all. Welcome to Cheating, the Tripod series. All of us, all three of us, have cheated. And it was because of those experiences, what we learned, and how we adapted that our relationship was strengthened and even more unbreakable today. In the previous episode of this series, you learned that your favorite introvert, Bae, told us all about her cheating experience with Matthew. And Jeff expressed that it made him feel more justified when Tanya came along. So let's find out about Tanya. I promise it's even juicier than the last. So stay tuned for Cheating, the Tripod series. Let's go. You can hide it, 'cause I feel you, never let you go. Boy, I know our love is strong, even when sunlight turns to storm.
So Jeff and I were in a long distance relationship for a good bit, starting in college, and then when I moved to Italy in 2004, and I lived there for a year until 2005.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it was long distance, and I guess we were used to having a long distance relationship at that point in time because she was away at college prior to that.
Right. So Jeff comes to visit me in Italy for Christmas in 2004, and we spent this wonderful 2 weeks together at that point. And then early 2005 comes, and I'm feeling that something's off. Again, there's no cell phone, so I had a calling card. I would call him every day, but there was something that was off, something about the energy that I couldn't put my finger on.
Tell us about Tanya.
Early 2005, I'm at a party with a friend, and I meet Tanya, and she happens to be working at the party. We kind of kicked it off, and there was some good chemistry between us, and so we decided to exchange numbers. And we started talking on the phone, and one thing led to another, where we eventually started hanging out and dating. All unbeknownst to Letitia. She was all the way on the other side of the world. So I really wasn't thinking ahead of time about how, I was hurting her and how I was lying to Tanya. And it was one of those situations that you get yourself into where you're thinking, what am I doing? I am going to get caught up doing this. I know it, you sense it, but then you do it anyway. And so it was one of those life experiences for me. So I was caught up, and this relationship had developed. I was avoiding Letitia's phone calls when Tanya was there, and trying to sneak and call her when I had the opportunity to do so because I was spending so much time with Tanya. I was also working at a nightclub at the time. One night, I decided to get really drunk. I must have aggravated the owner of the nightclub, and I didn't notice at the time, but he had it out for Tanya. He was interested in her, and he was looking for his opportunity to get in good with her. So I got drunk. I had to be brought back to my hotel room at the time, and this was right after Hurricane Katrina, so we were all living in hotel rooms. And so they bring me upstairs. The front desk sees them bring me upstairs. They help them bring me upstairs. They give them a key. And so they put me in my room, in my bed, and then they leave. Well, what ended up happening was the guy I was working for decided that he was going to call Tanya and tell her exactly how drunk I was and how much of a fool I had acted, and that she needed to go and check on me. Now, mind you, he knew that I was drunk as a skunk, and he also knew about the situation to where I was in a relationship with Tanya, but also I was in a long-distance relationship with Letitia at the time. So, long story short, he tells her where I'm at. She comes to my hotel room. It's the same shift. She tells the people at the front desk, my boyfriend just got carried up in here. I'm going to check on him. Well, they just saw me come in, getting carried in. And so they give her a key and allow her up. So she comes into my hotel room. I'm stone drunk. I'm out. I am out like a light. She steals my cell phone. At the time, I had a BlackBerry with the side scroll. She goes through the phone. I'm guessing that I didn't have a lock on it because back then, I don't know if people locked their phones. I can't even really remember. But this BlackBerry must not have a lock on it. So she goes through my phone and she decides that she's going to call Letitia.
So yeah, at the time being in Italy, like I said, I was feeling that something was off with him because he wasn't answering my phone calls. So then I get back in June or July of that year. And when I get back, everything's pretty much fine. I don't notice anything different about him. So Hurricane Katrina hits. I'm living with family at the time. I'm working as a high school Spanish teacher at one of the local high schools. And I'm about to get up to go to work in the morning and I get a phone call. And it's Jeff's, Jeff comes up on the caller ID on the phone. And when I answer it, it's a woman's voice. And like my heart just dropped. Like there's a woman's voice. And I don't remember exactly what she said, but basically this is Tanya. Jeff and I are in a relationship. He said that you two were broken up, blah, blah, blah. Let's meet. And that's so I immediately called work like, hey, I'm sick. I can't come in today. And I drive to New Orleans to meet up with Tanya outside of the hotel that Jeff is staying at. When I first get there, she's not there. I'm there by myself. So I go to the front desk and I'm like, hey, I'm Jeff's girlfriend. He was brought up in here. He was drunk. Well, of course they don't let me in because someone had already just been let in a few hours ago. So she gets there and, we see each other. We know who each other is, and we go up to the room that Jeff is staying in because she has a key. We go up to his room. She lets me in the room, and Jeff is out. I mean, first of all, if you've seen the Who Do We Sleep With video, you know that he sleeps like a log. While he was, intoxicated on top of that, so I can't get him up. Trying to shake him, I can't get him up. So I decide, okay, I'm gonna go get the bathroom trash can. I fill it up with water and pour it on top of his head. And he's like he's being waterboarded or something like that. And he opens his eyes, and here's Tanya, and here's me, just kind of staring at him.
Yeah, I woke up thinking I was drowning. I had no idea what was happening. I had no idea how I got back to my hotel room. I had no recollection of, the end of the night. The last thing I remember is being at the club, honestly. And so, yeah, being awoken out of a drunken state, doused with a trash can full of water, because she pulled the trash bag out of the trash can and used the trash can to throw water in my face. And as disgusting as that sounds, the thought was equally as disgusting, like after all these years. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm looking and I'm trying to regain consciousness because I can see Tanya and I can see Letitia and I can see Tanya and I can see Letitia, and I'm like in this state of disbelief. I have no idea what's going on. What is happening? This can't be real. I'm still dreaming. What is, how is this possible, right? There was no way in my mind that it was possible that they were sitting in front of me just while I'm just waking up.
Like in reality. So, it's like after the water, like he wakes up and he's looking at us, and then like something clicks in him and he like comes to, like he sobers up really quickly. And he gets up out the bed, he picks up Tanya and puts her out.
Yeah, I think it's called adrenaline is what kicked in. And yeah, so I said, very matter of fact, okay, you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And
talking to Tanya. You got to go.
And so she refused. So unfortunately, I did drag her out of the room. I wasn't violent, but she was kicking and scratching and stuff like that. And so I put her out of the room. and closed the door. And so then me and Letitia had a conversation. I have no recollection of what we said to each other or what I could have possibly said to her at the time, because it was 15 years ago. How long? It's like 17 years ago. I don't know. It was a long time ago. Regardless. Then I tell Letitia, let me go talk to Tanya real quick.
Because she's still outside the door.
She's outside the door. I go outside. I talk to Tanya. And, eventually it gets resolved in a amicable way, right? So we all kind of go our separate ways.
So after that, there was definitely crying and, just going back and forth with each other. But as you saw in the last episode, I had already cheated too, so we didn't stay mad very long.
No, we didn't stay mad very long. And overall, this experience was one of the catalysts that led to us having an open relationship.
Yeah. After we had talked about it, I had been through my cheating experience and we still stayed together. And then he had been with his cheating experience and we still stayed together. It was very clear that we want to be with each other. We love each other. And that if the want to be with someone else came up, that didn't mean that we loved each other any less.
Right.
But that if it did come up, we had to communicate with each other, because at the end of the day, it was the lying and the dishonesty that was the most hurtful to each other.
Yeah, exactly. And that's always what it boils down to, is the dishonesty does the most damage to your relationship.
Tripod fam. Let me just say that in listening to this story, I got very stuck at the part where Jeff physically took Tanya and removed her from the hotel room.
Mm-hmm. Very dramatic.
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic.
Because I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, so in this moment that you came to, you made a very distinct, definitive choice to choose Letitia. And honestly, that felt real effed up for Tanya.
It was, when I look back on it happening, I felt a little bit bad for her, because he put her out, and it felt final when it happened.
It's one of those moments in my life that I'm definitely not proud of, and if I could go back, I would change the way things happen. Overall, just the lying and just everything. Yeah. It's something that I look back and cringe when I think about it. But I've forgiven myself.
So, needless to say, when I first learned of this story, I've heard it a few times now. Mm-hmm. But in even talking about getting our tripod fam in on our infidelity experiences, I had a lot of questions. And I was just like, so how did that work? And what I found out is that Jeff did lie to Tanya, because he told her that he had broken up with Letitia. And that means that Tanya was, in fact, dating him under the assumption that he was single. And so that was very similar to my own cheating experience. Although I was very clear that the man I was dealing with was not single. But having grown up with him from childhood in a polygamous culture, I also was under the distinct assumption that he is still practicing polygamy. Although he is married, he has not added a wife to his relationship, but he still operates in a polygamous culture.
Hypocrite.
And ultimately, while entertaining what I was entertaining with him, I was cheating, because even though Letitia was in on some of it, not all of it, some of it, I didn't tell Jeff anything. So I was cheating, because at the end of the day, I didn't ask for permission to share intimacy with someone outside of our tripod.
That's correct. And Letitia was in on most of it. Let's say that. Most of it. The introvert that you should not trust, again, was in on most of it.
Letitia?
Listen, I was in on the situation that we had talked about, but going any further I didn't know any of that. Like, what happened when she gives her story?
Y'all about to say, they don't know all that. Y'all don't get, listen, yeah. You have to tune into the next part. You have to tune in for the next part to get more details on my cheating experience.
This one the juiciest. She just said mine was juicy, his was juicy.
It was juicy. His was juicier.
Hers the juiciest.
I think mine might be the juiciest.
Mm-hmm.
And the most recent.
That's true.
Anyway. All right, y'all. So if you're caught up with this 4-part series, you know in the first part, Letitia talked about when she cheated with Matthew. And in the second part, Jeff talked about how he cheated with Tanya. And so there is only one left, and it's yours truly. It is. It's me.
Tripod fam, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at mebaeandj for more pictures, funny stories, and info about
your favorite tripod.
Also, don't forget to hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video. Comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you're aware when we upload new videos.
Please comment. I would love to hear what you all think about Jeff and Tanya. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.
Scandalous.
Okay.